Hi, my name is Michael Baisa, and I am going to be presenting today on the topic of JSON and how it relates to Java. So, what is JSON, first of all? JSON is a lightweight data interchange format. It stands for JavaScript Object Notation. And what it is, it's a language-independent structure that allows you to store data for transmission between or for sharing between two endpoints. It's built on two key structures, a collection of name-value pairs, which you'll see, as well as ordered lists of values. So in JSON, there are a few key structures that you need to be aware of. The first one is an object, and it has the same kind of context as we are studying in Java, where the object contains smaller elements associated with it. It's also got arrays of items, and then the base is going to be a value. And a value can be a string, a number, it can be another object or another array, and it can also be a true, false, or a null. So this these images come from the JSON.org website, and they explain how an object, how an array is created, and how a value is used. It's good to understand the flow of things and how things are put together, and these images, for me, did a good job in being able to display that. And then a little bit more complicated, this shows how a string and how a number are created. So these are some pretty good resources to take a look at in understanding what goes into creating a particular JSON format. So over here, I've got a sample JSON object. This is actually information pulled from a weather website which provides an API, and it transmits the data in JSON. So I took it from the website and I made it a little bit nicer so you can see the nested objects and the different elements that consist of a JSON object. So you have your first element here, your first object, and that contains a sub-object. So the coordinates contain items of longitude and latitude. Your weather contains an ID, a main, a description, and an icon, so on and so forth. And this is how it's structured. And you'll see also that the weather components are listed in an array, so it has the ability to pull back multiple sets of weather information. So, in using JSON with Java, Java does not provide native support for JSON. Because of that, you actually have to go out and find a library that's suitable for you. And there's a lot of libraries available, as you can see from the list on the right. I ended up deciding to use JSON for this demonstration and for the work that I was doing. And you have the option in IntelliJ to find this library and to import it. And so that's what I did with my project. I brought that in and found that it was pretty easy to use. It had a few key items associated with it. There's always more to dive into, but I was able to grasp the basics of how to use this particular library into transforming objects to JSON and JSON to objects. So with that, let's go ahead and jump over to my code editor, my IDE, and give a brief demonstration of JSON. So we'll go and take a look at the code first. This is going to be contained in my control. So first of all, this is a basic calendar application. You'll see that there's two items in the model. There's an appointment, which basically contains a data description and a hash of the appointment, and a user calendar, which contains who the owner of the calendar is, as well as an array of appointments. So that's the data structure that we're going to be working with here. Now, if you go over to the controls, this is where the actual work happens with JSON. You'll see I've got a number of different ones. The ones that are particular for this example are going to be your save and your load. So going into the save, uh, this happens to be something that prompts the user to provide a file name where they want to be saving something. The first item that requires interaction with JSON is you're going to need to create a JSON object. So that's what this does here. And then this JSON object is going to be used to turn an item into a JSON string. Now, this is a little bit more complicated because I've got a controller here in the way. But essentially, this is pulling data that's a user calendar, and then the to.json format is transforming that into this string called JSON output. And then taking this string, we'll open a file and we'll write that output to that particular file, and then we'll see whether or not it succeeded. The load, on the other hand, is going to take a file that contains a JSON string, particularly one for a user calendar, and then transform it back into a user calendar to be used in the program. So somewhat similar start. You're going to create a JSON object and an empty string to contain the JSON results that are pulled, and then a user calendar object to store the loaded information. So we go ahead and prompt the user for the file where they want to load the information from, and then from that file we get an encoded byte array of all of the information that's in the file, and then we convert that into an actual string. And this is important just by the way that pulling the information in a file interacts. And the JSON format requires the JSON data to be in a string. So if we've been able to successfully download the information from the file, we can then take that calendar string and use the from JSON function in JSON to convert this JSON string to a user calendar class. And that's what this whole process does here. So with that, that will upload the information for the file into a user calendar, which then replaces the old calendar data and allows you to use that with your program. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show a brief test of this program so you can get a little bit of feel of it, and we'll also take a look at the output. So let this start up here. So you'll see if I go display, there's just some basic information in here. And then we're going to add a new appointment. Let's say a date of 2019, 1/31, and we'll say something like assignment due today. So it goes through there, and you'll see that a new appointment's been added. And with that, let's go ahead and do a simple save. Give it a file name, and calendar successfully saved. So now we can go ahead and take a look at what work has been done. Let's see, if we go to our out, nope, give me one sec. Let me go ahead and bring up this file. So there's our test file. Not quite sure why it's not pulling it there. And there you can see the output of the information from that JSON string. So from this part right here, this would be the new information that we added to here. Okay, So let's go back to our program. We can go ahead and exit here, and we're going to restart the program so you can see it loading the calendar that we just saved. So we'll display, so you'll see that that appointment that we added is no longer there in the default settings. And then let's go ahead and load. It's testfile.txt. Okay, let's see what we have. All right, and you will see that the information was successfully loaded, and we now have this second appointment which we had added to the calendar that we had saved to an external file. So I hope this gives you an idea of the functionality of JSON, how it's formed and what it's used for, and also some ideas if you want to use the JSON library in Java in order to convert information to and from JSON. Let me know if you have any questions. Look forward to seeing you later on.